We're going to continue with Chapter 12. Now, the project, I told you it would be ready this week. It's not quite done. Me and Roy have been working on it. It's increasingly difficult to get this to work, by the way. But we'll have it finished for next week. We're going to finish it tomorrow. That's what we're hoping. And a couple of you didn't do wonderful on all the assignments, and there hasn't been that many assignments, so I will make sure that doesn't, I don't want to make it where one bad assignment kills your grade. So don't forget about that. So, so I will work on that. Don't worry about it. If you all don't know, I do curve my classes, and it really depends. I look at the whole thing. Like, if you do the work, then you're fine. But then there's some people who don't do work, and it's like, I see you're putting in the effort, it's one thing. So, like Sam finishing in, 3 days? You finished the project?
I don't know.
No, didn't you finish the forensics in 3 days?
Me?
Yeah, didn't you?
No, I'm not in forensics.
No.
Oh, that was the other. Okay. What's your name?
Cole.
Cole. Darn it. Cole. Why do I keep mixing you up with Sam McCool?
I don't know.
He's got glasses too, and you don't.
It looks like you should be in the cool.
Yeah, you. Why am I mixing you up with that? Yeah, because he finished the entire project in 3 days. It's like
Which project?
the usernames and passwords. He was done with it. I mean, he had it all posted, all the extra credit and everything. It's like, wow. So, at least I'm glad you finally got it working. So, why do I keep want to call you Sam? I don't know. You need to meet him if you've never met him, because you probably look darn similar. Okay, let's continue on. But I will have that up hopefully by next week. All right. See, on that same lines, those who took this last semester, all they did was write 2 papers. That was it. I'm not real big on just having you write a paper about something. That's why I haven't really done much of that kind of stuff. So I'm going to have some. It's going to be a little different. You'll enjoy it. Okay. Let's talk about Chapter 12. Okay, we're going to talk about some of the security challenges, some of the security models. There's a couple things in there that are kind of interesting. I'll talk about them when we get to them. But starts off with Android. What's y'all's opinion? Y'all love Android?
Never used it.
Whenever I used it, I liked it. But I broke it.
Okay, those of you, because anybody who went from iPhone to Android? Or how about Android to iPhone?
Yeah.
Okay. And you're happy with your iPhone now?
Yeah.
Okay. I've heard that more than not. Most people, it's like, my mother-in-law has an Android. Doesn't know how to use the damn thing. It's like, why do you have this? She's always having issues with it. An iPhone just works. It does. But so many people with Android, they're like, that was like, I did a mystery shop for an AT&T store. And I had to go in there and pretend I knew nothing. I don't know, I might have already told you this. But the guy told me, get an iPhone because it just works. But even Roy, oh yeah, because you can do so much more with the Android phone. But they don't. You can do it, but you don't do it. So why get the darn thing? But we're going to talk about some of the different components of it. Okay, it's built on Linux. All their stuff is. Google actually wrote their own OS for their search engines. Did y'all know that? Yeah, they actually write their own stuff. It's kind of cool. There's some videos online. There's one where they show Google Shredder. They actually shred their hard drives. So the big old grinder literally destroys them. First of all, they put a punch through them. Then they shred them so no one can gain data off of them. So it's pretty amazing. Okay, but so built on Linux, it has sandboxing. I know we mentioned this last time, but that's pretty much where everything is isolated. Everything works by itself. Java is real big on that. So it works well. It says Android applications runs in its own virtual machine or its own sandbox. Each has its own process, which makes it so they don't interact. You don't want them to interact. Windows actually had that a long time ago. I think it was Windows 2000 where they finally switched it. But back then, prior to Windows 2000, all Windows apps ran in the same process space. And if one crashed, that's why Windows used to just crash miserably. Nowadays, if Windows crashes, really you just get one application will crash, the entire OS. Anyone actually got a blue screen lately? I haven't got one in a long time. Because they switched, they went to this model here, where pretty much everything is segmented out, so if one thing does crash, you're not having to, reload the whole OS, okay? So it does not rely on Java, although it does use it. Okay, it does do a lot with Java. Okay. You can actually write apps for Android with Eclipse. If you ever want to do it, go download Eclipse. It's got a built-in mobile development tool for Android on it, and it's really pretty simple to do. Okay, so it's got a sandbox. It says it assigns a unique user ID to each app. They run each with their own permissions. So it's basically like a separate users logged in with each one. Okay, it isolates everything out, isolates memory, isolates devices. Okay, and here's the whole deal: the memory crashing one doesn't kill everything. Doesn't screw up the security on the rest. Okay. All right. Permissions. It says use permissions to guarantee what you can and cannot do, but not all these are wonderful. Okay. It says prevents one application from sharing with other applications. Yet that's not totally true in Android. There's a lot of issues with that. Okay. It says applications run as a user with its own set of permissions. We have the development kit for it. You have permissions set on each file. So pretty easy stuff. But this ProPolice, I was actually reading about this. You don't know what a stack overflow is or buffer overflow is. If you don't know what it is, let me explain what that is. I got this table right here in front of me. I could stack stuff on it. But if I keep stacking stuff onto my table, what happens sooner or later? It starts overflowing into other spaces. Could fall on the floor, could go onto another table. That's what a buffer overflow is. You put too much stuff in it. You have a certain, imagine if you know anything about programming, you know what an array is. Maybe you got an array that holds 10. What if you put 20 in it? Java won't let you, C++ will. So C++, if you put 20 in an array that holds 10, it just puts the other 10 on top of whatever next in memory. And the same thing with the stack. The stack, think like a stack of plates. You put them on there and you got to take them off the way you put them on. But if you put too much stuff on there, it can really cause an issue. And ProPolice is an application actually IBM used way back when to help prevent this. And it is used extensively in Android, but there's still some flaws in it. I was reading some of the vulnerabilities in it, and there's something called stack crashing, where if you just put a certain amount of stuff, basically it gives up and just does it. Way back when I was up in the University of Tulsa, I was assigned a Microsoft NT4 FTP server I had to install and secure. But initially we installed it, but then we didn't secure it right away. We weren't supposed to. Do you know if you hit the older FTP servers, it was about 4,000 simultaneous connection, they just let everybody in. It just gives up. It's kind of thing about it, if enough people push on the door, sooner or later the door is going to break in. That's what the old Microsoft servers did. And that's kind of what this does with the stack crash. If they put too much stuff on it, you can actually make it crash as well. Okay. It says they have tools to prevent kernel addresses from leaking. See, if you can find out where stuff is stored, that can really be a big vulnerability. Certain thing. Does anyone actually work with older computers, 286s and 386s, old one, where you had to do like load high and stuff like that? Did anyone do that? Yeah, I remember my original computer had 640K memory, and I upgraded it to 1 meg, but still, that was not much memory. Well, obviously not much memory. But it was like your mouse driver, and all the stuff you had to load was taking up memory, so you could actually load it high. You could load it in a different spot in memory. That way you could free up some usable memory. Kind of what they're talking about here, each thing is stored in its own location. Okay? All right, so they talk about, there's no execute. Y'all know that's built into Windows too? I think they got it from Windows. There's a name, it's D something. Deny, DE, whatever. But it's a way you can prevent code from executing, which is kind of nice. Okay, they encrypt stuff using APIs. API is an application programmer interface. Kind of like if you want to encrypt something with the AES, you just use the AES API. Pretty simple to do. If you ever want to do it with Java, you use something called Bouncy Castle, which is the real name for it. It's really pretty simple. You just use the application and encrypt it. Very simple to do. Okay, rooting and unlocking. This is the stuff that people say they want Android for because you can do this, but very few people ever do it. Okay, very few. Okay. It says an Android security model, the OS kernel and small subset of applications run with root permissions. Other stuff does not. Okay. But when you root it, you can actually give yourself permissions. You're overriding the security on it. You'll hear a lot of people about, like they say here, change the boot sequence to load different applications on there. What was it? I think was it the Nook? You could very easily load Ubuntu or other stuff on it, and what was it?
I think that's what
I think it was. But you could very easily, you could go buy one very cheap, and then you could load a different OS on it, and you have a very cheap tablet. So it was super cheap. So all you do is changing the boot sequence, making load into a different thing or different OS. Okay. All right. Again, they run in sandboxes. They have limited access to different resources, but that can be overwritten. They don't really. Well, I think it's another page we're going to talk about here. But okay. So they says restrictions implemented by deliberate lack of an API. Basically, it prevents things from working, interfering with each other. Okay, can't give a better example of that one. I don't use Android enough to tell you too much more about it. They have to receive permissions, similar to Apple. That pretty much is the same on all of them. But applications must receive permissions on it. And one thing they don't mention in here, which is bizarre, they mention it under Apple and Windows. They don't mention the Google Play Store. Pretty much anybody can put something on there. They don't have to be. They don't have to have developer certificates. They're really just put on. Yeah, Google does check them, but kind of cursory. They don't really enforce much. That's why there's so much junk that ends up on there. Apple and Windows, on the other hand, does a lot more. Okay, so let's talk about those. Okay, they use what's called a walled garden approach, which is similar to sandboxing, just a little bit better. Okay, what they do is you can only run stuff you get from the App Store. Even if you go on an internet, like somebody says, hey, download our app, click on this link. All it does is open your App Store or iTunes or something and get it. Now, I mentioned in class, the only way you can put it on is, if you had a developer license. All right. Now, you can develop Apple apps without a developer license. You just can't put it on your phone. But you can develop them in Xcode for free. If you got something that's good, then you can actually become a developer. It's $99 a year. It's not that much. Okay. Developers must register and must pay some money. So it's $99. We actually have a developer license here for Rose State. So it's free since we're a school. Cannot develop for beta versions. So it has to be a full release for us to develop for it. But Donna's actually doing that class right now. So if you guys ever wanted to, you could do it, and we could actually give you, basically we would take your device's ID and make it so you could actually develop for it. So then you can install up to 300 devices. Okay. Developers are given a certificate. They have to sign all their applications with it, and that is a pain in the butt. I have a certificate, and it is just a pain in the butt to work. It's just, ooh. But then you upload stuff to the Apple Store, and then people download it, can make fees, and all that kind of stuff. I was at that conference last May. One of the guys speaking at the Endcase conference develops for Apple, and someone asked me, how many apps do you have on the App Store? And he goes, oh, dude, I lost count. Long time ago. Wouldn't it be nice to have that many on there you don't even remember? Wow, it's got to be a bunch of money. Even if they're 99 cents, or heck, even if they're free with ads. I mean, that's I don't know.
One good one for 99 cents that a million people download.
Yeah. I was thinking about apps. Like I use my banking. I don't want to do banking on their phone.
Yeah.
How many trips to the bank have I saved by using that? Checking balances, depositing money. So how many people lost their job because of that? Because when they first came out, first of all, I went to my bank and asked, oh no, we're never getting that. Yeah, whatever. I knew sooner or later they would. When they first came out with it, I had to deposit a check, and I hadn't had it activated yet. I said, how many of you are going to lose your jobs? I'm like, why? Why would we lose our job? Because I'm not going in to deposit checks anymore. I go there when I need cash. Because I can't figure out how to deposit cash on this yet. It doesn't work. But getting and receiving cash is pretty... I guess I could do it at the ATM. But, yeah. I'm kind of wary about just throwing cash into an ATM. I just wouldn't like that. All right, but there's a digital certificate. Okay. The applications, the provenance, basically where it came from, is able to be tracked. So we can figure out exactly who developed this app, and they can very easily pull it. There's just all kinds of stuff. I was looking at some of the most... There's apps that cost $900. It's like, wow, I can't imagine. What's the most anyone ever paid for an app?
$1.
I paid $25 for something.
I think I paid 10 for video analyzer for baseball swing.
Oh, there you
go. That was for the college, right?
See, Yeah, I bought one of the programs I use to watch all my video cameras. I think I bought theirs. It was like $10, but now it's free. It's like, you suck. You don't get a refund. It's not even fair. Okay.
So do you guys have a developer license for Microsoft apps?
No, we do not. We probably need to get one. I mean, it's getting to the point where we need to do all this stuff. We really need to hire another faculty who can really focus more on this.
We know they're also doing, their Microsoft is also now accepting, because I've got emails for it.
Right.
For developers for their HoloLens.
Oh, wow.
They're looking
HoloLens?
for developers for the apps and everything,
Huh.
programs for the HoloLens.
But before long, that's going, if you've ever been to Five Guys, it's so much easier to order Five Guys on your phone than in the store. Because you literally go in there and say, I want a burger, and it just lists the ingredients. I want this one, this one, this one, this one. I want fries, order, done. And it's got your credit card number saved in there. It's so much easier. Then you don't have to wait in line. But before long, everything's going to go that way. There's always, new apps coming out for all kinds of stuff. Okay, so the way Apple does this is doesn't guarantee safety, but it makes it harder because Apple does check all the code. They look for copyright. They look for flaws in it. It also deters from malicious developing. Okay, they run them each in the sandbox, similar to the way Google does. And this is the apps cannot determine whether or not another app is present. Well, that's true, but I was thinking of one. I'm assuming some of you use Facebook on your phone. You have Facebook Messenger. Those are two different apps. They kind of work together. So, yeah, that line's being blurred there a little. But a lot of times they cannot access it, which is kind of handy. You don't want them to be able to, but except for something we're going to see here in a second. Okay, it says isolation achieves for preventing applications from gaining access to the kernel or other root level devices. Again, if you jailbreak it, which we'll talk about, that's a whole different story. Strong protection, and is this where they have it? Okay, they're talking about some of the issues. Okay, it says apps are theoretically vulnerable to web attacks. They mentioned the Safari attack in here where you actually could run code, malicious code in your browser. And the browser is one of those things that's kind of persistent on your phone. It can be used in many areas, so that could really cause issues. It can steal data, can steal passwords and stuff like that. Okay. They require permission. I had an issue with my phone. It just happened, a week ago, where if I was texting, then, I'd turn my phone sideways, it turned sideways, but it wouldn't go back. So I had to totally reset all my settings on here. Not delete my data, but reset my settings. Then I didn't realize that now this stuff is happening again. Every app that I want to use, do you want to give permission to do this? It asks for permissions for everything, which is kind of good. And then it's very easy to turn it off. It's much easier to turn it on and off in this than it is on Android. Android has it, it's just harder to access. Okay. Remote notifications is an issue. That's there, but people could somewhat read those. Okay, ongoing calls is another thing they can do, sending emails. Okay, Apple devices are fully encrypted. It came out with it, I think 4S and above, they've been fully encrypted. It uses a layer approach and can actually double encrypts email and stuff like that. I don't know exactly how the double encryption works, but I know the regular encryption is based on a hardware key on the device. Okay. Jailbreaking. Here we have the same kind of stuff you can do with Android you can do on the iPhone. My son does it, then he doesn't do anything with it. Okay. It allows this whole Provenance model. In other words, we don't no longer care where they came from. We don't care who developed them. We can set different permissions on them.
Has anybody jailbroke the iPhone 6 yet? Because I heard.
I'm assuming they did. They're usually like within minutes. I haven't looked, to tell you the truth. It's usually pretty darn quick.
Because every time I'm coming across it, it says that
Not yet, huh?
the tricks aren't working.
Huh. Oh, some 12-year-old kid in India will figure it out or something, Okay. It says, comes at a cost to security. The moment you turn off all the stuff Apple includes, obviously you have issues. Okay. Now this is the one that's kind of interesting. Okay. Windows Phone. Okay. I know a few people that have it, but not that many. No one in here, I'm assuming, has one. You do. And you like it, huh? I'm just, see, it's that whole Windows 8 look. I don't like.
It works on the phone, not on a computer though.
Oh, okay. So I guess I haven't played. I mean, I got one sitting right on my desk. I should just play with it more. Problem is, I can't. In the past, when a lot of the phones had the same SIM card, I literally just swapped the SIM card from one to the other to play with it. But now, like, this one's got a teeny tiny baby SIM crap. It's like, can't do it. So what I have to do is go to AT&T and have them activated onto a different phone, and that's a pain in the butt. So, all right. But it says protects applications through isolation, pretty much like they all do. Okay. Uses strict provenance again. I can't say it. Provenance, whatever that word. In other words, they know where the stuff comes from. Uses the Windows Store, which is very similar to the Apple Store. It's the only way you can get stuff. Okay. And only applications that are known can be installed on there. So very similar to Apple. There's some I want to show you. Maybe it's coming up here in a little bit. A lot of different security features. Just, I would say even a lot more than Apple. Okay. Lots of stuff there. Okay. Secure boot. It actually checks the system before it'll boot up. Even if you modified it, it'll no longer boot. So that's kind of nice. Okay. Integrity says after a trusted boot process completes, then it starts loading stuff. If it's not signed, it's not going to work. Okay. Every application has a certificate, again similar to Apple. Okay. Where's the other one? There was basically they're saying, maybe it's coming up, that currently on the market, the Windows Phone is the most secure mobile phone on the market. That's what they're saying. I haven't done a lot of research to prove that, but I read that. I'm like, really?
When I was doing that little research thing we did for you, you said that for the Windows 8, the Cortana, whatever, the thing that speaks to you, every time you put your username or something, it saves it, because that app, whatever that is, that app, it copies your username, your password, and all that, so it keeps using it. So it's like it's stored into Cortana. So every time you will put your username, already pop up. It has that copy and paste thing, so that way you have to be copying and pasting
Right.
it.
Her to do stuff, yeah, probably. You can get to like web pages around her and stuff.
So like anytime somebody wanted your password or anything, they can easily get it through.
Wow, that sucks.
Huh.
I have a camera system at home, and I have an issue with random people looking at my camera, especially on the inside of my house. You don't need to be looking. So I changed the password the other day. I came up with a random 30-character password. I don't think anyone's going to break that in the near future. So how do I get that password to somebody? I want to get a copy to Virginia. How am I going to get it to her? What would you do? No way you could recite it to it. It was like crap. I basically texted it to her. Probably a bad idea since text messages are saved. But same kind of thing you talk about. I copy and paste passwords all the time. I use LastPass, but my passwords are all so long, there's no way I could ever type them. So I just go into LastPass, copy password, and go paste it into the application. So I guess is that what you're talking about? They copy and paste passwords and stuff?
It just stores it. Even if it comes up in like the little asterisk thing,
it's all there.
You can't see it.
Right.
You can. I forgot the command. You can say to her whatever, and it comes up without it. So it'll actually allow you to see the whole password.
Wow, that's crazy. Okay. All right. Says the first stage is securing the OS through a trusted boot, which is good. Then they have certain apps that work with it in certain environments. Then they have sandboxing as well. Okay. Then they have GPS and stuff like that, and different things have to get permission before using them. Some security issues. Here it is. Windows 8 Phone appears to be the most secure operating system on the market. Makes you wonder, did the author have anything to do with that? I mean, is he getting paid by them? I don't know. Okay.
Because if you're going to write something that hacks, you're going to do it for like iPhone.
Right, exactly. Or Android. No one has a Windows. Well, not.
Hack all 5 of us.
Yeah. Yeah. I got a software developer friend in Kansas. He swears by the Windows Phone. I just never had one.
It's easy to use. It's just not a lot of apps for it. But
Yeah.
it's really easy to use.
Yeah.
Once you get accustomed to any phone, it's easy to use. It takes
That's
a
true.
while, and then all of a sudden you'd be like, yeah.
I had a BlackBerry. I saw a friend of mine, Skylar Tudor. I remember his name, using his iPhone. I'm like, how the hell do you use that keyboard? Now it's so easy. You're right. Once you get accustomed to it, it's pretty
You
simple.
can even do. I had one. The one that slide up and had the keyboard. I can even like text without actually even seeing the thing.
That was my son. My son had an old flip phone. He'd pull out of his pocket and read it. Then he'd put it back into his pocket, type an entire message. It's like, how the hell are you doing that? He was good. He was.
It's the same way with your keyboard. You're used to your keyboard. You
Yeah.
can talk with somebody.
But he was at Schwartz Elementary, what, 5th, 6th grade, 4th grade, whatever the hell grade, winning every typing competition they ever had. You could type 100 words a minute. And he was in like 5th grade. It's like, nowadays it's all this stuff, or this. Okay. But Windows Phone uses BitLocker, Defender type item. It has a smart screen filter. Everything's Sandbox. So it is a very secure system. Okay. All right. Handoff. Something new Apple came out with. Does anyone use that? Anyone know what that is? What it is I can bring up my web browser and I can start surfing a web page. And I can set my phone down, walk to my Mac, and continue surfing the same web page. It's all integrated. It only works with certain apps, but they hand off between apps. Okay, it's I don't like it, and like I said, it allows you to go between them. The reason I don't like it is you have to have Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on both devices. It's not my phone.
No, it was mine.
Okay, but so I don't like it because I don't like leaving Bluetooth on because it draws power. Okay. But I'm thinking when I get the Apple Watch in a week and a half, 2 weeks, order it. I'm gonna have to have Bluetooth. That works via Bluetooth, doesn't it? I'm thinking everything I read about it sucks. See, I like 3-day battery on my phone. It's gonna end up being a 1 or 2 day battery. It's gonna suck. But handoff's nice. But since now we have communications over Wi-Fi and Bluetooth, can that be hacked? We don't know. This could lead to data being handed off to unwanted applications.
I had a friend in the Dominican Republic. He works for Claro, is a company down there for phones and stuff like that.
Okay.
And he was able to actually hack like our phones through Bluetooth without actually even touching our phones.
Wow.
He can actually get in through the Bluetooth and see all of our contacts, all of our messages.
Actually,
use our minutes from his phone. Which
oh wow!
Because you can over there, you have to buy a card
right
with money in it, put it in your thing, and then that allows you to get minutes and all that stuff. And he was able just to go through
and
his
use
stuff,
your minutes.
Like, I was like, really, dude? He was like,
yeah, Bluetooth I think is vulnerable, but it's very popular. But I don't know. Okay, so it could lead to issues there. The whole bring your own device, we've talked about that before. That's getting more and more popular, especially with cell phones. I really don't see the point where Rose State will no longer give me a computer and just tell me to bring in my own laptop or something. I don't see that ever happening. They do give me a laptop, I still have a desktop, but it's a nice thing. You definitely have to have a policy in place for that. iPhone is currently the largest in the industry doing that. It was BlackBerry, but I think they're kind of disappearing. So Apple is the one now. Okay. It says the client says just one OS and one of two models will be easier to manage. The Windows Phone, it says we're not competitive, but they have since then made an exclusive deal with Nokia, which is good because Nokia wasn't doing a hell of a lot of anything lately, and we'll see how that
I thought
works.
they bought Nokia.
They might have.
Because they bought
I know they were selling the patents like crazy.
companies. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they did buy.
They might have. Yeah, they might have. Okay. All right. It says Android OS phones were reversed. Basically, everything was fragmented. It says it has security, but there's a lot of issues with it. And an issue with an Android is, Apple, you get a piece of hardware from Apple. Android, there's 5 billion pieces of hardware, and half of it doesn't work. It doesn't work as good on others. Okay. It says, but Android's popular, people like it, so it is growing, and it will be around as well. So it still has the same capability where you can delete it and stuff like that. Okay. You need to have a policy where you can control each item. Okay. You need to identify and authenticate. That's something we're going to be going to with our wireless. I'll be able to automatically authenticate my device with the Rose State Wireless, stuff like that. Okay, and it says, uses IT provide. Basically, they're talking about the mobile device management here, and that's where, like right now, if I lose my phone, I can wipe it with iCloud. But it'd be nice if Rose State could do that. They might, actually, they probably do, because I know it integrates with our Exchange. But you want the ability where they could wipe it, they could reset it, they could do whatever. All kinds of stuff with it, especially if you're using it for important stuff. Okay? It says, can automatically detect a device on the network, can send and collect information, can automatically put on updates. When I went to the University of Tulsa, you would plug your machine in your laptop or whatever into the wall, because you didn't have wireless in the dorms, in the apartments, I guess. What they would do is immediately check for antivirus and updates. If you didn't have all the updates in the antivirus, they would give you access for 1 hour, but only access to those antivirus places and the updates places. Then they check it again an hour later, but after the third time, if you don't have it done, automatically cut your network port off, disabled it, and send a help desk request, and IT services came over and fixed your computer. Kind of cool. Kind of what we're talking about here. We can install stuff remotely. We can keep stuff updated. My stepkids have an iPhone 5. They went on the cruise, and I was looking at it. They hadn't installed like the last 3 updates. Because they don't want to. Because if you do that, you have to stop playing games. So I updated their phone, but it'd be nice if the enterprise could take care of all of that for us. So now you can update for pretty much everybody. Okay. System delivering software. It's funny, people were complaining about Apple, how they're forcing all these apps, like the new Apple Watch app. People were freaking out about that. Who was I talking to the other day? So put it in a folder. I think we're talking to her. Put it in a folder you don't use or something. Okay. But it does give you the ability to handle licensing, configuration, usage, all kinds of stuff. Okay. All right. So that's it for Chapter 12. It's somewhat shorter. I'm hoping to have your darn project ready for next week, and then we're going to go from there. If I can get it finished, which I should be able to finish it tomorrow, then next week will be just explaining how all that works. So, all right.